Man, how time flies. Until I checked the calendar, I would have not believed you if you told me it's been nearly 6 months since MyArcade's 2023 handheld and tabletop arcade toys first started rolling out. It seems like just a few weeks ago, I don't know, it's not been that long. Anyway, back when those released in kind of September of 2023, I reviewed most of them, hit all the high points. But every once in a while, I will get a viewer comment that says, John, I really wish you'd go back and take a look at this Space Invaders MyArcade Pocket Player Pro that came out around September of 2023. Again, about 6 months ago. So I never got around to it, so that's what I'm going to correct in this video right after this. This video supported in part by...
Playing VR, I tend to sweat. It gives me an edge. So King of Nerds happens to give me an edge too. Let King of Nerds give you the edge. Bye, King of Nerds.
Hey there, welcome back to GenXGrownUp. I'm John and I am a GenXGrownUp. I want to thank you for taking the time to click on this video, and what we are talking about is this MyArcade Pocket Player Pro. Now you'll remember last year that all of the releases they did, Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and Galaga and all those, came in at least 3 flavors. You had a micro player, you had a nano player, and then you had the pocket player, the most different of the 3 in the collection. This is the handheld version, and the Pro designation was effectively that it is now a vertical screen for games that require vertical aspect, and a little more horsepower, meaning a much more arcade-like game experience for Space Invaders. So let's find out if that's the case with this Pro right now. If you've looked at any Pocket Player Pros before, or regular Pocket Players for that matter, you know what to expect from the packaging, so we'll just spend a second here. Clear image of the product on the front, and a little magnetic latch has a lid here that lets you see the real thing inside. There's a sticker on top that's a simulated game screen. Inside the lid, I always love when MyArcade does this. It's not a lot, but a little bit of information about the original game and a screenshot to kind of tell you what you're in for in case you don't know the legacy of Space Invaders moving into this. Although if you didn't, why would you have bought this? Just because it's cool, I suppose. Around back, a couple more beauty shots of the product and the feature list in multiple languages, and it's the stuff we know from the 2023 line. You know that it's got a 2.75-inch screen powered by AA batteries and or USB-C power if you choose to do that. So why don't we get this guy open and check it out. Once inside, we have the Pocket Player Pro, of course. We'll get to a little bit of documentation. There's a manual, which is always just several pages of how to put the batteries in multiple languages. That's trash. We're throwing that away. And then this is the catalog thing, and this is the old catalog with the non-pros. Now, you'll remember there's a new catalog in the new product that shows all the new line from 2023, and I've been using that as a checklist because it has a little checkbox right on it. So let's go ahead and check off my Space Invaders Pocket Player Pro, now in my collection and ticked off on my list. On to the Pocket Player Pro itself then, and I'm going to start right out of the gate by saying I love the art design on the face of this Space Invaders Pocket Player Pro. So it's not just, here's some side art, it's let's take the side art and use it to inspire the entire art design of the face of this thing. You have the Space Invader here, you have the alien in a couple of places, there's the UFO, there's that moonscape that we had, of course, and the color scheme with the kind of the dark orange and the deep blue of the sky. And before I turn it on, it just feels like Space Invaders. Of course, you have the Taito and the Space Invaders logo up here, but out of the gate, I just love the look of it. A quick peek at the controls, which are very simple. On the left-hand side, you have this circular D-pad. Now Space Invaders is only left and right, but they just included their standard circular D-pad, so okay, I guess. Over on this side, a single fire button. If you're not sure which button is fire, it's the one that says fire right on it. And then above that, you have your player 1 and player 2 start buttons. On the top, here's the power on-off switch. You have that variable brightness toggle that lets you move between 3 different levels of brightness, the backlight for that screen. A home button, which unnecessary with just one game included. It's just going to be a reset, but I'm sure it's just because it's part of all of the other Pocket players. And then a credit, because this is arcade ROM, or certainly a simulation of one. So you have to put in coins in order to play the game. And finally here is a volume up and down rocker. Nothing much around back, just the 2 battery doors, which are textured for a nice grip. And in fact, they do extend from the back of the unit, then make a nice handhold for your fingers as you wrap around. And down at the bottom, we have a standard headphone jack, and there's that USB-C power. If you would like to power this via USB-C instead of batteries, that's always a choice. over the years, my arcade has really zeroed in on the comfort factor in terms of how this feels in your hand, from the rounded edges, a little bit of chamfer here, and the battery door, as we said, just feels great in the hand. And of course, it has this little wrist strap so you don't drop it, and it's color-coded to match the art style of the rest of the device. So now, let's say we get this fake Space Invaders screenshot off of our Pocket Player Pro, put some batteries in it, and give it a try. In the interest of good time management and to entertain you while I put in the batteries, let me take just a second to remind you of our merch store over at GenXGrownUp.com/merch, where, yes, of course, you could get a shirt or a phone case with our logo, but more importantly, logos for almost anything you might be interested in. It could be arcade games like Space Invaders, or Pac-Man, or Ms. Pac-Man, or Galaga, or it could be television shows, or movies, or any other sort of cool, nerdy thing. We have all sorts of designs. You can get them on shirts and stickers and magnets and phone cases and pretty much whatever. And every purchase you make goes to support future videos just like this one. All right, batteries are in. Let's get back to it. Yep, going into the arcade. There's our Pocket Player, little logo, and there's our Space Invaders. Yeah, okay, so let's start with that variable brightness. So let's see, that's 2, 3. So there's the darkest. Actually, that looks pretty good on camera. I found that to be true for Space Invaders on the micro as well. There's the medium. For brighter situations, and then they're very bright. It almost seems like the backlight, depending on which way I turn it, you can see how it works. I think for shooting, I'm just going to leave it on the darkest mode because Space Invaders is such high contrast. It's pretty much a black and white game. You know, all the green was just accomplished initially with a gel overlay on the screen. So let's put a coin in, which doesn't make a sound, of course, so we won't hear that. So let's turn it up all the way, and player 1 start. Here we go. Yeah. Now, no bass response really with that little speaker, but it is pretty loud. Oh, yeah. Space Invaders is one of those super low-tech, early games that it's not going to be a big draw on any kind of hardware. So the fact that it's working great here, I would expect. Come on, UFO. Oh, I got him. All right. That's a lot of misspent youth. Give me reactions and timing to get that UFO, I'll tell you. Got him. Just peel off these individual columns. Yeah, I noted this looks to be the same ROM that was in the micro player earlier last year. And it has all the same cool features. Look, we can see that the green baseline below your ship is destructible, which wasn't even on the premium. No, no, no. You don't want them. You don't want to be chasing them. Nope. Got him. Got me. Game over. Yeah, now this is just a nice, clean Space Invaders experience. And even when you're not playing the game, you have the same attract screen with all of the little idiosyncrasies that the Space Invaders attract screen would have. Like there are typos, like you see play, the Y is upside down. And an alien's going to come out and fix that because, yeah, look right there. Yeah, he's going to fix it, take out the bad Y, put in the new one. This was all part of that attract. You know, the pinball machines had lots of flash and lights and colors, and so when early arcade games came along, what can we do to entertain somebody, to make them smile and want to put in a coin? Like I, in fact, want to do, again, right now, another coin. Here we go. You know, we know this screen's propensity for screen tearing, but the good news is the screen is perfect for Space Invaders because nothing is moving full screen. There's no screen tearing going to happen, so yeah, never leave one guy dangling out there like that. That's just asking for trouble. Get him. Yeah. Now I can see across the top that this version, of course, remembers a high score during the game. I'm going to guess, so we'll test in a second, that it's not going to remember your high score after you turn this off and back on. So my high score is 1250. That's the current game that I just had. So we'll turn it off and back on. And of course, the high score set back to 0. And I've had a lot of people say, well, in fairness, you know, John, that, you know, the real arcade machine would lose its high score when you unplugged it. You're absolutely right, but I haven't unplugged it. The batteries are still here. There's still power. There's no reason you couldn't, at least while there's batteries in it, remember the high score. It's the only real nitpick I have about the 2023 line is that for classic arcade games where high scores matter, it'd be nice to have that high score. But all in all, A very, very satisfying Space Invaders experience in a pocket-sized little gadget. Really, ever since I first checked out the MyArcade Pocket Players and now the Pocket Player Pros, I've been quite fond of them, and this one is no exception. And I'm always striving for the arcade experience, some arcade accuracy. And while this is not a cabinet with a joystick and a button, or all buttons depending on your Space Invaders experience, if you're going to have Space Invaders in a handheld, as I said, this is a pretty good way to get that done. The gameplay experience you're going to get out of this Pocket Player Pro, unless you're pixel counting, is pretty much exactly what you remembered from Space Invaders back when you played it in the arcade. Now, the simplicity of Space Invaders helps out these units that otherwise have some limitations. We talked about screen tearing on these units. Not a problem with Space Invaders because nothing's moving that much. This D-pad is a bit aged. However, because Space Invaders just needs left and right movement, while an actual cross D-pad might be better or individual left-right buttons, this one does not suffer from those limitations because of the simplicity, again, of Space Invaders. So in many ways, it's almost as if Space Invaders itself is doing some of the lifting to offset limitations we're aware of in these 2023 Pocket Player Pros. Good for you, Space Invaders, still putting in the work after all these years. If there's anything you want to hold against these units, it might be the limitation of just the one game. Look, these things run for $39.99 MSRP, 40 bucks, and you're just getting Space Invaders, which is an iconic legacy game, but there's not that much variety, admittedly, so will you get that much value out of it? Well, that is up to how much you like Space Invaders. It has come down a bit in price, and in fact, I'll throw some links down in the description of this video where you can go and find these. They're now coming down. They're 10, 15, 20% off any given time, because, as I said, it's almost 6 months old. So all that taken into account, I'm going to rate this 2023 MyArcade Space Invaders Pocket Player Pro 3.5 tokens out of 5. If you are a Space Invaders fan and don't already have a convenient handheld method to play Space Invaders, this might be the best one currently on the market for your money. Hey, I'm going to throw some links over my shoulders here and here to some other MyArcade reviews I've recently done. I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this video, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.